What's up, dude?
Hey man.
Hey, you might notice I'm not in my normal location, but it's
Yeah.
whatever. Uh, so I texted you yesterday, but it was like one sentence, and it didn't include any background information. Uh, DC, and it wasn't just DC. DC's owned by Warner Media, Time Warner, and
Yeah.
all that. That got bought by Discovery.
Yeah.
The company, like every you today Discovery, people think the Discovery Channel, but it's
Right. Shark
also,
Week.
yeah, it's also the same company. The overall company is Discovery, but they're also behind like the Travel Channel, the Cooking Channel, the Food Network, all that kind of like daytime TV shit. They are
Right.
now they now own Superman, Batman, all that shit. It's weird because on one hand I'm like, well, Warner Brothers is doing nothing but fucking it up. So
They
right?
didn't know what to do with their IP. They had no idea what to do.
No,
This was before we go too much more into the explanation. I have a quick opinion. This
go
is a
for it.
great idea. I don't know that Discovery itself is going to be the best possible source for us to get. I don't know. I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm genuinely saying I don't know. But I think it's excellent that Warner has finally come to terms with the fact that they don't know what to fucking do with this. And
Yeah,
they're just giving it to someone who maybe already has an idea. So that's great.
yeah.
Anyway,
I've
that
thought
makes
that
me
it's
happy.
I've thought it's either yeah they don't know what to do with it or they know what the right thing to do with it is and they just don't want to do that. Like if
Either way, really, like they need
yeah,
to get rid of that IP
because
because
you look
Batman and Superman have so much
are
potential.
yeah DC in general, but I mean it's like you look at Disney has always been a franchise company. Like, let's take something, let's franchise it, let's make theme park rides and merchandise, and let's do all that.
Right.
Warner has always been more like yeah, they did the Harry Potter movies, and there's a Harry Potter theme park and whatnot. But Warner Bros. Has always also still been like, we're gonna make some fun, summer blockbuster movies, but we're also gonna do real films. And I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
unlike Disney, they were always reluctant to go down that road of just being like, it's almost like when people hear the word Warner Brothers or Warner Media, when they hear the name Warner, we don't want them to just immediately think DC, Superman, Batman, Justice League. We want them to still think, oh, Warner Brothers, the people that make great just movies. And I feel like a lot of it was they didn't want to put the appropriate amount of money and effort and thought into it because they didn't want it to get big. They didn't want it to be their flagship thing that they were known
Right.
for. So, but yeah, overall, I'm great. I'm glad. So here's the thing: DC and stuff is still with Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Warner is just now owned by someone new.
Right.
So, as with any big purchase or merger like that, like people are going to get shuffled around. Some people are going to be like they're going to boot some people. They're going to do some restructuring. That's inevitable. The big key thing here is, pardon me. Uh, the rumor is Discovery did not buy it to do anything really with it. They bought it to increase their own value so that they can then be bought. Like it's almost because
Sure.
like I said, it's
By
Discover.
Amazon eventually.
Yeah, or Netflix. It's like that's what I've been reading. It's like because right now they've got it's like I said, it's stuff like Discovery Channel, Food Network, Travel Channel, that
Right.
kind of shit. What big media platform really wants to buy just that stuff? You know what I mean? It's like they needed if Discovery
Right.
wants to get bought out by someone bigger, they needed a bigger hook. They needed something to draw people in. And a lot of people are saying like they don't have any plans to do anything with DC stuff. They just wanted to buy it so that they would make Discovery more valuable, and then someone even bigger would come along and buy Discovery. So we
Part
might,
part of me thinks that's probably naive on the part of the people saying that. I think that that's probably true to half of it. That's probably true because like think about it. It's like someone's offering you a gold statue of Batman, and you're like, I want it because it's made of gold. But you're like, yeah, but like it's made of gold, but it's also a Batman statue. So it's like if you sold it to a Batman fan who wants a gold statue, it's worth more.
mm-hmm.
So they probably had multiple reasons for wanting this, especially because Warner has a lot of IPs. Like they've got Looney
Harry
Tunes,
Potter.
they've got Harry Potter, they've got the Tiny Tunes, they've got all that Warner Brothers cartoons we watched when we were kids. They've got
HBO is
all of
involved in this,
that.
dude. HBO is in Warner Media, so now
Is
Discovery
it
now
because they
owns
have
HBO.
because
Like,
of Harley Quinn and stuff like that, right? Because
yeah,
they've got some of the Batman stuff. Yeah. So they've got access to this. What they've done is expanded their worth so somebody can buy them. And that's true. But then in the interim of them, unless they're immediately trying to sell it, in the interim, they're going to try to make some money off that, right? Because that's what
You
you
would
do.
you
You're
would
like,
hope
let's try.
so,
I'll make a made-for-TV movie or something,
but
make a little bit of money.
that brings up the question that's in the back of all of our minds, as whether you're a big DC fan or a small DC fan, you got to ask yourself, like, okay, I'm glad it's not in the hand. AT&T owned Warner Media, which includes
Yeah.
HBO and all that, and DC Entertainment and all that shit. So it's like, okay, I'm glad it's not in the hands of AT&T anymore. I'm glad it's under new leadership because they weren't doing a good job with it. But there's a question in the back of everyone's mind going, but is the guy that the people that run the travel channel, are they really the ones we want doing Justice League? That there's always that question too. So with the idea that like they just bought it to make themselves more appealing to being bought out, it's kind of like, well, it depends on who they then got bought out by. Because like if Netflix decided to buy up Discovery, can you imagine if Netflix like owned DC like it all came from Netflix, because Netflix has never done comics. Netflix doesn't do comics. They just do video, whether it's live action or animation. And yeah,
Right.
the best DC shit we've gotten in a while has been animation. But it's like that would be so weird if Netflix owned DC Entertainment, because it seems normal on the surface when you think about making movies and cartoons and shit. But when you think about like, are they gonna then have a comic book publishing company? Netflix now owns a comic book publishing company. That's interesting.
I hope Netflix isn't the one that buys it. They're so unreliable with their television shows. It's something I've stopped doing in the past. It's a short amount of time, but 2 years, I haven't really been the Netflix guy, because you get into a show, they do 3 seasons of it, they end it in this terrible way, and then they don't bring it back. And you're just sitting there like, it's the 3 season kill switch with Netflix. So
Altered
they had
Carbon.
DC. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the thing is they waste the potential of every actor and every director that they bring in, because that they're haranguing and hamstringing them all the way along. Anthony Mackie is an awesome actor. I love most of the stuff he does, but when he was in Altered Carbon, I kept thinking, man, you're the best part of this, and you're somehow the worst, and it's not your fault.
It's because
like, it's just because they fucking want the show to end, and so they're having the writers, hey, fuck this up, man, make this shit. Like, don't give Anthony a chance. Just fuck his dialogue up, fuck it up.
Write this as though it is the ending. You know what I mean? Whether people like it or not, write it as though it's the ending. And
don't do it at the end. Do it right at the beginning of the season, so they know to not waste their time.
And that is a good point, because with Altered Carbon season 2, I get it. The whole premise of that universe is you can swap bodies. So it was, and I've read the book, and I knew it was like, it's inevitable. This guy's going to change bodies. It's not going to be the same actor playing him all the time. It shouldn't be. But you would still expect his personality to be the same, and it wasn't. Anthony Mackie played a noticeably different Takeshi Kovacs than Joel.
It's because they wrote him to be worse.
Yeah.
They wrote him to be less interesting, and that really bothered me, because when you got such an interesting base character, and then you bring in another really good actor to play that base character and then put their own spin on it, you can only make it better, because they can't fuck up how good the first one was. All they can do is add their own spin to the next one. Netflix didn't even let them
it's the same thing
have
that's
like
happening
a decent
with Doctor Who.
Base. Exactly. Yeah, it's the exact thing.
We've seen it work for years and years now, where you can trade out the main actor, the main protagonist, with a new actor, and it can be done. It's very similar to Doctor Who. Like, does the Doctor's personality, like you said, every actor puts their own unique spin on it, but there's always been moments, no matter which iteration it is, where you go, that's the Doctor.
Yeah.
Except with this newest female one, because they're writing her like a bag of ass. Like,
yeah, they don't give her. One thing I noticed in the first 3 or so episodes that I watched were that they didn't do that grimness that the Doctor has brewing inside of him all the time.
Yeah.
That he keeps in a little vial, and he only opens it a smidge to let it out to scare the piss out of everyone around him.
Yeah.
Like Matt Smith, when he makes the Atraxi come back to the roof, he's like, "Where the fuck do you think you're going? Get back here!"
Yeah.
And they fucking do. And then when they're talking to him, he's like, "Do a little quick scan, you little shits. Who am I?"
Yeah.
And they see all this stuff, and he's like, "So basically, run." And they fuck off. But he was also a goofy ass character and nothing like the guy before him. So
they've just doubled down on the goofy. They have the female Doctor. They write her. They're like, make some funny, quick little quips here and there, act goofy and silly, and then also they're in a really bad habit of, especially in season 1. drag the plot out of each episode, especially on the episodic ones, and then right towards in the third when the third act starts and the final act or whatever, and we need to start wrapping this up. Have her just bullshit the answer out of her butthole. Like
Yep.
I shit you not, at one episode they were being chased or terrorized by this thing, had no idea what it was, and all of a sudden, beginning of the final act, she's like, "Now that you mention it, this reminds me of a story my grandma once told me on Gallifrey." I'm like, whoa, like you just figured it out, like just not like.
That's something that bugs me about the new Doctor, because I like Jodie Whittaker. I liked her in Broadchurch, so she is definitely a really good actor. So you can tell that this is another instance of being fucking
Sabotage.
hamstringed by writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want the female Doctor to succeed, so they're like, let's write her like shit, so we can just go right back, say we did it. They could have just done a good job. That's all we really expected.
Yeah.
She had potential because every man in this planet has been screamed at by a woman and just had to stand there and go, well, what am I supposed to do about this? Exactly nothing. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. You're not going to do anything. You're just there and it's happening.
Yeah.
And there's a primal thing in you and you're like, fuck, I'm terrified of you. That's just part of being a human. And so when they use this person who's like that already, who is a genius and a goofball and a psycho,
Yeah.
and they don't do any of those things, they just are like,
The
we're going to
goofball. They
half-ass
just
the goofy.
triple down on the goofball.
They half-assed it, even though they tripled down. They half-assed it.
Yeah.
Because
cheap
the funnier
clips,
moments,
yeah.
like David Tennant would have funny moments where he would like basically kill a person and be like, well, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Like you could see that the Doctor was a broken person, and
Yeah.
they needed to kind of keep that because
Yeah.
there was a reason he's going around the universe doing all these things. Now that it's a she, they were like, let's soften that edge. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
That's what we like. We like the goofy. We like the fearsome, and we like the fucking psycho. Like we like
Yeah.
all three of those.
Yeah, and yeah, it's another credit to the point of like new ownership or new people in charge, because it got bad when this new guy, I forget what some Chinball, his last name's Chinball, everyone
His last name Chinball.
Yeah, Chimball. It might not be Chinball.
Oh, Chim. Okay.
Chimball.
All right. Lucky guy. He got up by one letter on that one.
He came.
His ancestors like.
He did. Here's the thing. Here's the weirdest thing. This guy did Broadchurch. He's the guy that did Broadchurch. And then when the previous showrunner and everyone running Doctor Who, all the way from Matt Smith through Peter Capaldi, that dude said, like, him and his people, he was the showrunner. I can't remember for the life of me. Stephen Moffat. They left.
Stephen Moffat.
They left, and they were like, okay, we're turning this over to a new showrunner and a whole new production crew and team. And it's when these new people came in with control of it, that's when it started going to shit. So anytime someone new takes over something, especially when it was good previously, which DC wasn't, but you're always just kind of like, you're a little skeptical.
Like, Capaldi was the best Doctor that they ever had. So it's like,
he's
look, I'll die on this hill. I will die on this hill. No matter who brings up the Tennant or Smith stuff, you have to understand, all of our followers, we have to understand, I love Matt Smith and David Tennant.
Yeah.
And they're amazing in their own way. But in a straight up, if it was 2-on-1, the only guy I'm betting on is Capaldi, because he's going to come in there with his sunglasses on and a guitar, and he's going to be like strumming away, and they're going to be like, fuck, what do you do? And then they're just going to like teleport to another dimension, and he's just going to be like playing the national anthem on it, like he's throwing fireballs out of it. Like, he's not, you can't see him coming because he's the perfect Doctor. He's insane, but he's come back to earth a little bit to who he really is. He's the most normal Doctor.
He's the full Doctor again, because the whole premise, this is turning into a Doctor Who discussion, but fuck it.
I love Doctor Who. It's great.
He's the first full Doctor we got again, because the whole new premise of the revamp show when they started it again was post Time War. And his whole thing was, it was what Eccleston, Tennant, and Smith was still him dealing with his survivor's guilt and the aftermath effects of him being involved in the Time War. And the moment the bomb AI that takes the form of Rose, she even she calls Tennant, she's like, this is the man who regrets, and Smith is the man who forgets. And it's like there's still, but that all got resolved in that episode, and he learned that, like, oh yeah, I didn't spoiler alert, I didn't destroy Gallifrey. I didn't kill my own people. And then when he regenerates into Capaldi, it's like, okay, he's got closure on the Time War shit now, and now he's no longer the man who regrets or forgets. He's the full Doctor again. So
Right.
that's the and for a lot of people who started, they never watched the old stuff from like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You started with Eccleston. All you'd known up until that point was the Doctor still dealing with the effects of the Time War. So to see him not over it, but kind of over it, that was the biggest difference to people, where people go like, "What? This isn't the Doctor?" Yeah, it actually is.
That's the most
We've just
Doctor.
never seen it since the 80s.
Yeah.
So
He
yeah.
was he was the guy that, and this is why I love him so much. He had to earn his spot for for me to say all these things, because the very first season Capaldi was not my favorite. It was all David Tennant.
Yeah.
And then I was more of a Matt Smith guy. But after the full run of Capaldi's show, his seasons are the only ones that I've watched more than 3 times, because I can just put him on in the background and be like, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
Anything that happens is going to be great, because it's also, they had done the 3 big things. They'd kept him sane but insane,
Yeah.
and a genius level intellect but scatterbrained as fuck. And then at the very last second, he's like the scariest person in the universe, and he's always those
the
3
oncoming
things.
storm.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
he's that guy with the battle TARDIS and all that shit.
That's the thing that like they're only gonna get away with so long, and some people, I might even be one of them, would argue that like they've already pushed the boundary too far on this one. Is like, you can't give the Daleks have their own name for him. They call him the oncoming storm, and it's all about because of the stuff he did during the Time War, and how like he actually has this dark side in him where he can commit atrocities, and he's super, like, he is a force to be reckoned with. You can only purport that for so long without showing it before people start going, well, where is it? Like you say, yeah. But it was always enough between the little moments of it we got with Tennant Smith and Capaldi. They always included enough moments where his real grumpy old, like, 1,000-year-old self would come out and make you believe it again. I watched
dude, I've thought about that a lot. The Valeyard thing. I actually know who would be the perfect Valeyard Doctor.
Who?
Mark Strong.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Mark Strong. Can you imagine the TARDIS reforming, and it's a silver cylinder again?
Yeah.
And just out of it walks Mark Strong in like a black button up. Everything's like very military strack, and he just walks out, and he's like, with that Mark Strong face. I think that would be one of the coolest moments in Doctor Who, is just Mark Strong walking out and being like, this is over. I'm going to end this.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be the Doctor that would scare the pants off of everybody.
Yeah.
Because he's already kind of scary.
That's a good casting. But though we don't get any of that with the female Doctor. Like, never mind the fact that they don't actually show the Doctor like being a badass and like, fucking people up left and right. They've never explicitly showed that, but they gave you enough hints into his inner dark side to make you believe, when they told, oh yeah, he used to do that. You saw enough hints of his inner dark side to believe it. You're like, okay, yeah, I can see how he would have done that in the past. With this female Doctor, though, nothing of her behavior makes me go, oh yeah, you're a force to be reckoned with. I go, shoot this bitch. Like, just what are you doing?
But
like,
this is the problem with her, is they've tried to do this thing that they do with female action heroes that I will never understand, because it's not the gender that defines the action hero. I can prove that with Sigourney Weaver in Aliens.
Yeah,
she was the most badass character in that, start to finish. There was never a point in that movie where she was like, I gotta do this feminine. No, she was Sigourney fucking Weaver. She was Ellen Ripley, the survivor of the Nostromo, and she was not gonna fucking die to some bitch ass aliens. No, I'm taping a machine gun to a flamethrower, and I'm getting that girl back.
I'm getting in the fucking walker, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of this queen.
Yeah, get away from her, you bitch! Bam! That is Sigourney fucking Weaver. So when we think about, like, I've heard endless shit where they're like, people are just being sexist because Jodie Whittaker's a girl. No, fuck you all the way to hell. I am the most supportive feminist, all that shit. I'm just angry at this bullshit representation that they're doing, because they don't want to have female action heroes. They want to prove to us that they're bad, which is just not true.
I don't know if it's a gender thing at all. I think I see this amongst with both male and female protagonists. It's almost like they're trying to purport this new idea and make it mainstream that, like, being a badass doesn't necessarily mean that you're violent. And I'm like, At a certain point,
It
like,
kind of does. It doesn't
yeah,
mean you kill them.
yeah,
The
but
Doctor hardly ever kills anyone, but he's still a badass when he
yeah,
like beats them all up or something. You know,
yeah,
like however he does that.
yeah. Like, the I watched a few, like, several episodes of the latest season, and I think I told you it was like the first 4 episodes, crap. I can't remember if it was the fifth or sixth episode, best episode I've seen in years, and then it went right back to being crap. But that's because, spoiler alert, they came across this a past version of the Doctor that the current one has no memory of being, and she's this black woman, and she was hiding on Earth. Her memory had been erased, but when they were in a church and they were being cornered by those Rhino police and the Jadoon, and something it
Now
was
I know
like,
their name.
dude, they pulled a Jason Bourne moment. Like, one of the Jadoon put his, like, grabbed her wrist to, like, apprehend her, and she still doesn't have her memory back. This like black female doctor, she still doesn't have her memory back, but instinctively, like Jason Bourne, when he grabbed her wrist, she went and she started fucking up the Jadoon, dude, in the church. And then when they get to this lighthouse and there's a thing on the wall, it's like, break the glass, you'll get your memory back. She breaks it, the energy goes into her, she gets her memory back. The first thing this doctor does is go in the basement and get a fucking plasma rifle out and load that shit up. And I was like, this is my doctor, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, yeah, she wasn't.
They should
Here.
make her the next Doctor.
She wasn't playing,
do
dude.
that.
Yeah, she wasn't playing. She fucked up those Jadoon. She was like, stay strapped. Like, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. And then you got Jodie Whittaker over here in her fucking coat of many colors, and like just, I don't like it. I hate it so much.
Jodie had so much potential. She just was. It was so raw. Could have been anything, literally anything, because it was a new show. It was a new showrunner. I actually kind of called this, though, at the end of Capaldi. I called it when they were making the new season, and that you told me they were having a new writer cast. I was like, oh my god. Yeah. With Stephen Moffat, he may not be perfect, because he definitely isn't perfect, but he was a really solid writer. Yeah. Like, yeah, almost all of my favorite episodes are Stephen Moffat directed or written. Yeah. He was very, very, very good, but he was obviously bored, and that sucks. I think that we need to bring back the apprentice system. We need to bring in people who, if you're really fucking good at something, and there are a lot of
someone to pass the torch to. Yeah.
Yeah, bring in a guy who really likes you and likes what you do. He wants to be his own person, but he wants to understand the core fundamentals of how you've created these good episodes. It just seems to me like when they were hiring a new McDonald's worker to work in the window, and Tommy was leaving, and they were like, fuck it, Jimmy with one hand who doesn't know how to do math, you're up in the window. And he was like, why are you putting me in the window? And he's like, I didn't think about it that hard. Like, obviously not. He can't use both his hands, and he doesn't know how to do math.
Well, it's because
that's what they're doing to the Doctor.
When it's time to, like, hire new people or sell to new people, they don't look at, like, the idea of, like, who are fans of this stuff, who loves this stuff, who's really going to care about it. That doesn't come into consideration. All that comes into consideration is, like, who's going to pay the most, or who's going to,
There's got to be a middle ground in there. And also, that's why I say bring back the apprentice system.
Yeah.
You're selling it. The only requirement in a contract is that my apprentice has to be one of the writers. He's really good. Why do you guys need all this? Why do you guys need to fire these guys just to hire someone because you said you hired him? Like, just trust him. If he does a shit job, you own him and you can fire him. It's easy,
So
I just want good shows.
Closing thoughts with AT&T selling Warner Media to Discovery. Do you think this is good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think they're going to keep it? Do you think they're just going to sell themselves off to a bigger company? Do you want them to do that? What's closing thoughts on this news that Justice League and DC and all of it is now with Discovery? Closing thoughts.
I mean, it's so weird. It's like finding out. It's literally like finding out that the Cooking Channel bought Batman. So
it is. That's exactly what happened. Like, yeah.
It's exactly that. So that's the perfect metaphor for how fucking weird it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, literally, this is just like the new Doctor show. It could be anything. Yeah. I kind of hope that the truth is that they just bought it so that they could then be sold. Because Discovery is, in my opinion, not that great of a channel anymore. It was at one point pretty good. Now, anybody who's watched Shark Week in the past 2-3 years will know that's not about sharks anymore. That's just about bullshit. I've seen the dumbest shit on there. They're like, we tied a banana to a dolphin's tail, and we're gonna see if that great white shark will eat it. Like, why are you here? Go jump in the water and see if the great white shark will eat you. Like that's where I'm at with Shark Week, and that's Discovery. So I don't fucking know if they're good at anything anymore. They used to have, if they're the Food Network, I think they are. Food Network used to be really great. Now it's sort of meh. It's all like a game show. They're like, it's
Yeah.
Master Chef, and you got to prove to these. I got to put my arms up real high, and you got to prove to these chefs that you're good enough. Prove to Gordon Ramsay that I'm a home cook who's good enough to work in his. That's bullshit. He never had to go through that shit. You know that none of those guys ever had to do anything like that. They didn't have to go on a cooking show to get their job. They just went and did it, and then they got their job. You can do that too, you fucking morons.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's that channel. So like, yeah, it could be good, but fuck, I hope they just sell it.
Yeah.
Just sell it. Sell it down the river.
I'm glad it's not. I'm glad it has new people in charge of it, and if they just, like I said, if they decide to like keep it and do something with it within, so you got, like, think of it like layers. Like, you got Discovery. Warner Media is a layer within that.
Right.
So I'm really kind of hoping that if they keep it, the Discovery people up here are gonna kind of, look down into the Warner Media area, shuffle people around, boot some people, be like, okay, bye, like, restructure it a little bit. And also, I really hope, if they're going to keep it, I hope they go, okay, who here can prove that you are a DC fan? If you can prove that to me, you can stay. If you're not really a fan, you're not invested in this shit, goodbye. If you're just here because we have a multiverse, and that sounds like you're going to have an excuse to tell the most insane, wacky stories, bye.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Please, no more multiverse stories. Everybody is so. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but everybody is sick of the possibility that there are other universes. We just want you to do one universe well.
Yeah.
And you can't even do that. Marvel has multiple universes, and you probably wouldn't really even know that because they hardly ever leave Earth 616. But there are more. And they've done a great job explaining that their differences are not so night and day.
Marvel's multiverse, it comes in for certain story arcs, and for that story arc, it'll be relevant, and then the multiverse will go away again. It's not like DC, where DC's like, there's a multiverse, and it's all important, and you need to know all of it. Like, fuck no, I don't have time for that. No, I do
a central world.
Yeah.
Just like I know this is the worst comparison because DC fans who don't like Marvel hate the comparison to Marvel. I'm not comparing it. This is just a good idea.
It's gonna happen. It's inevitable.
But it's like not even. It's just like you should do this.
Yeah.
Marvel does a one central world. 616 is the world. There are others. Almost everything you've ever read happens on 616. Now, the Marvel Extended Universe does not, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not on Earth 616. It's a different one.
Yeah.
So don't get mad if you read a comic and it's not like that.
Yeah.
They're different. But that's the point. There's 616 and all the comics pretty much happen there.
Yeah.
And then they can do other things. DC doesn't have that. They don't have a 616.
Not anymore.
They have nothing. They used to, but they don't anymore.
Because
now they do storylines in a different universe, and you're like,
and they all intertwine them.
Yeah.
And it's so convoluted at this point that you're just like, what was the main universe story again? Like, I forgot. Like,
nothing that happens on Earth 313 affects Earth 616. Nothing. Like, they don't touch each other in any capacity. If Earth 313 blew up, Earth 616 is fine and doesn't even know that happened.
Yeah.
But if that happened in DC, there'd be like a ripple effect that shifted the main world, and you'd be like, why? They're not even together.
Yeah.
It's a different universe. Do you guys understand how big universes are?
It's been used appropriately before, like for the Crime Syndicate, Earth 3, where the Justice League is evil. Like, I could see how that is an appropriate use of it. The evil Justice League from that Earth discovers this alternate reality. They're battling their evil counterparts. Once that conflict is resolved, we fuck off with Earth 3. Like, it comes in for its story, and then it goes bye-bye. You don't need to keep it around. The events of Earth 3 are affecting Earth 72, which is causing the effect over here on Earth 97. And it's like, oh my God. And like, dude, I shit you not. I've told you this before, I'm going to repeat it. There is a universe where Superman is a giant muscular rabbit, and his name is Captain Carrot. I don't care how much you're the kind of person that's like, I like wacky creative ideas. They're fun. That sounds fun. Fuck off.
Fuck you. That's what I think about that. Like, serious. I saw a comment on Reddit the other day, and you know what? I'm just gonna because I don't care. Like sequel memes is like is a shithole because they're just desperately trying to defend three shitty movies that we've all moved past. It's those exact people that ruined DC. Like they don't care. You have to care about something, and the excuse like it's just a comic book. Fine, it's just a comic book. I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm saying that I want to read good comics
Yeah.
that have a sensible plot. I don't want Ray to have the dagger and be in the exact spot to line up the fucking Death Star. That is absolute grade A bullshit, and you fucking know it. Come
Well,
on, you
that
fucking know it.
I've said this from the beginning, and I stand by it. Like that the sequel trilogy was fucked with Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker being as bad as it was simply like what you were talking about earlier. They came in and went, look, guys, we're past the point of no return here. Last Jedi, the previous movie, it fucked us. So just write this one off. Just close up this little chapter. Let's tidy it up with a bow on it, get it done, and let's move on because this is fucked. That's the way I looked at Rise of Skywalker. They're like, let's take the easy way out. Let's wrap this shit up because it's fucked. It's irreparably fucked. Let's just wrap it up and move on. Same thing with Game of Thrones, the last season. They were just like, all right, we're done with this shit. Just wrap it up. Just wrap it up and let's move on. It's what happened.
It was the worst possible. They did a decent job with the first one, a crap job with the second one, and just shitting downhill into our mouths with the third one.
But that was unavoidable.
Because
the snowball was already going.
He recently said we didn't have a plan. He said it. Daisy Ridley had 3 different origins before the movie ended. And we're talking like while they were filming, she thought she was Obi-Wan's daughter. And then she thought she was Qui-Gon's daughter or something. And then it was Palpatine. And I remember that, I remember thinking when I read that, yep, we all said that already. Just because you're admitting it now, all that these two companies need to do, DC and Disney with Star Wars, but mostly DC, they just need to stop, take a second, backtrack to the most logical point where they could continue, and then just write. I know this. Bear with me. This is crazy. This is a brand new concept no one's ever done before. Write the whole story before
plot it
you
out,
then begin to illustrate them. I know that's nuts. Because then there's all this sort of like crazy shit like continuity and logic.
Because then you're locked in. And if there's one thing creative people hate, it's to be locked into one thing. Like they're like, but what if later on I want to do something different? I'm already locked into this story. Too fucking bad.
I have something to tell those people. J.R.R. Tolkien, who got locked into his story, wrote a whole fucking language and didn't piss his bed about it. He just did it because he liked being locked in because it made him creative. Yeah. It made his creativity exceptional because he was locked into that thing. He was able to then spend excessive amounts of time fleshing out and creating a sensible plot and then creating a world to surround it. He actually did it in the opposite direction. He made a world and then wrote a book. But still, the world for these dumb shits already exists. And they don't have to make any characters other than like an NPC. Like it's there for them. So they've got it's like the whole world of Middle Earth. And they're like, what do I write? Fucking anything.
When it comes to like DC or Star Wars, like a lot of these people, like they like the idea of, like you said, like the universe and the world has already been created. They like the idea of having that work done for them, but they still like to be able to do whatever they want regardless of the rules that have already been set down. So, and that's where the conflict happens. That's how you end up with people passing objects to each other through the Force.
Qui-Gon getting stabbed in the chest and dying, but then Kylo Ren getting stabbed in literally the same way and just being like, oof, oh, that's kind of stingy. Oh, that kind of hurts. And Rey's like, don't worry, I will heal you. And he's alive.
Because I'm the first Jedi to ever come up with Force.
Yeah, because Obi-Wan wouldn't have been able to stabilize him at the very fucking least. If you can fully heal a hole in someone's chest let's discuss this area of your body, because there are a couple major arteries right here. And your heart is right here. Sorry, I'm stupid. Right here. And then, because I was looking at my camera. So anyway, there's a bunch of important shit right here. Really, really vital to live stuff. And he got stabbed through it. And logically, Qui-Gon died because he got stabbed in the fucking chest. But Kylo Ren, he's like, oh. And then she's like, you're fine. And he's like, I'll pull a lightsaber out of my asshole. You're just like, what are you doing? You
This
guys
is
have lost your minds.
all good examples of how like when new entities take over established properties, it can like Disney took over Marvel and it went great. Uh,
Yeah.
they also took over Star Wars and it
Honestly,
went
props
terrible.
Disney.
Yeah, it took over Star Wars and it went. It's getting better, like, but it went terrible. New showrunner people took over Doctor Who. It's going terrible, and we will see what happens with DC. But the different thing is in this situation is this isn't a case where with both Star Wars and Doctor Who, it was going well before the new people took over, and then it turned bad. This it was bad already. DC was already just like, and
Yep.
so
They
now
shit the bed full on.
we're a little more optimistic about it. We're like, well, the other
It
people
can't be
weren't
worse.
doing it right, so like, yeah. So
It
yeah,
literally can't be worse.
I'm I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll put it that way. I'm
All right.
cautiously optimistic. All right,
I agree
man.
with that.
We don't got to spend too much more time on that. I just wanted to touch on that news because it's relevant nerd news and put that on here.
Yeah.
All right. Man.
Honestly, clearly got us excited. So that's not a bad thing.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, later, man.